Art saved my life. Growing up, art was the one and only constant in my world, which provided me with a huge sense of purpose, value, and meaning. During my talk today, I hope to shed some light on the importance of weaving pockets of creativity into your everyday and the plethora of benefits which come from doing so. With this, we'll explore the positive impact of art on an individual's mental health and well-being, the power of using art as a vehicle for self-expression, and lastly, I want to challenge your existing perceptions of what art is, pushing your realm of thinking so that you too can feel comfortable in getting creative. To bring you along on my journey, I first need to start at the beginning moment, a pivotal moment which will shift the trajectory of everything else to come. I vividly remember in early primary school having a drawing lesson with my former teacher, Mr. Cook. He was so passionate and enthusiastic about art, it was infectious. I recall drawing a rose and him holding it up as an example to show the class how good it was. That was it. That was a moment, a spark ignited this desire to be labelled as a creative. What was so impactful about that label? Well, you kind of feel unique, individual, and special. I wanted to hold on to that feeling for as long as I could. Fast forward to year 10, I will have been about 15 years old. And this is a moment where art became my saviour. Growing up on the outskirts of Doncaster in Moorends, aka Poorends, no, for real, it was spray painted on the signs, was an interesting experience. Going over at pits to chuck some stones in a little stream was about the most exciting thing that happened for me in that village as a teenager. See, the idea of being an artist wasn't even in my realm of possibility at the time. A lot of young people from that way are encouraged to get more practical jobs. You needed to make enough money to pay your bills after all. There was no clear route into how to make money as an artist. Therefore, it wasn't an option I knew even existed. Like many creatives, we tend to get bullied during school. Unfortunately, I was no exception to this rule. This bullying was relentless by several different girls, which continued for 2 years. I remember experiencing my first ever panic attack, pretty similar to how I'm feeling right now. Some days my anxiety would be so bad that it'd actually make me physically ill. Those girls terrified me, and they embodied everything that I wasn't, but so badly wanted to be. Skinny, wealthy, popular, attractive, silky straight hair, and white. I was so overwhelmed with facing them that I'd rush to lunch early, grab my food, and sit and eat in the toilets. With the door locked, where it was safe. Being mixed race, I was one of only a couple upon a sea of over 1,000 that wasn't white. That paired with living in an all-white household in a pretty much all-white mining village. Oh, thank you. It made me feel isolated and like an outcast. This is where I really leaned on art as an outlet, a way for me to articulate and express what I was feeling and what I was going through, whether it was being bullied at school or difficulties at home. It provided an escape from reality and a safe place where I could take a break. As an adult, I still create every single day. I feel really fortunate that I've managed to make being an artist my full-time job at the age of 23. And like mentioned, I'm also the founder and director of Doncaster Creative Network, a community interest company devoted to supporting other local artists and nurturing the amazing creative community we have here in Doncaster. I feel really proud that I'm finally able to be the positive representation that little Natasha needed to see growing up in Donny. Now moving on to our first topic of discussion, the impact of art on mental health. I've experienced firsthand how art can positively impact your mood, mental health, and decrease stress. But exactly how does it work so well? Pablo Picasso puts this idea perfectly in his quote. Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. As someone who struggles on a daily basis with anxiety and going through the diagnosis process for ADHD, I find creating art incredibly relaxing and therapeutic. I typically struggle to stay engaged for the entirety of a film at a cinema. However, if I have a brush in my hand, I can sit for 4, 5, even 6 hours, just in an absolute trance, lost in creation. I've been doing this for years now, yet I still feel like a magician yielding a magic wand whenever I place that brush onto canvas. The whole process is mesmerising, challenging, and rewarding, all at the same time. Art can relieve stress for children and adults. Activities such as drawing, painting, and sculpting are known to lower stress levels and increase mental calmness. In 2019, an Arts on Prescription project saw a 37% reduction in GP visits and a 27% reduction in hospital admissions, cited from the Arts for Health Wellbeing report. In fact, the government's own analysis of its data reported an annual NHS cost savings due to a reduction in GP visits at £168 million. Art isn't only a great form of stress relief, it's also a really powerful tool for self-expression, especially among children and young adults who may not have that articulation or cognitive ability to really decipher how they're feeling. I've worked with hundreds of children and young adults. I've seen time and time again how art can act as an outlet. Give a class of distracted teenagers a drawing activity, stick on some lo-fi tunes, and you can slowly see their tenseness melt away. The facade begins to fall and invites them to be more present in the moment, to slow down in a world which moves faster and faster than ever before, to reflect on how we're feeling, our stresses, our worries, but also our gratitude and what brings us joy. A real tangible example of how art can be used as a form of self-expression is through art therapy. In 2015, researchers Hein van Horen and Hutchen Makers set out to identify the effects of art therapy on adults with personality disorders. They organised their findings into 4 different categories. 1, perception and self-perception. 2, personal integration. 3, emotion and impulse regulation. And lastly, number 4, behaviour changes. 1, perception and self-perception. Individuals who attended art therapy found they was able to be more present in the moment, although at times this felt difficult as they'd often have to address negative emotions which would come up during a therapy session. It was important first steps needed to begin validating and recognising how they were feeling. Number 2, personal integration. Individuals felt that through the expression of their experiences in art, identity and self-image were strengthened, making more room for positivity. Number 3, emotion and impulse regulation. The study pointed to ways in which art expression provided an experiential space to experiment with alternative responses to negative feelings, improving individuals' self-efficiency and self-confidence. And lastly, number 4, behaviour changes. The study also found ways in which art therapy can be used as a space to experiment with different responses to existing personal narratives. Now, I've talked to you about how amazing art is and the importance for everyone to get creative, but I know some of you still may be feeling reluctant to do so. Maybe you feel like you don't belong in this space, or you're so overwhelmed with creating the perfect piece that it just freezes you from starting in the first place. I believe that once we challenge our usually limiting beliefs of what art is, we can open the door to possibility, to freely, creatively explore and unlock hidden talents or passions we never knew we even had. So with that being said, yes, I'm going to take it there. What is art? I love asking this question, partly because I know I can wind my mum up when I show her that iconic taped banana to a wall that sold for a huge amount of money by the Italian artist Cattilan. Well, I promise my intention isn't to wind you up as well. But 3 separate buyers actually purchased this real banana with duct tape. 2 buyers paid nearly £100,000 until the price was raised and the last buyer paid nearly £130,000 for a banana. Oh, God. I'm clearly doing something wrong. You might be thinking, how have 3 separate people bought one banana? Well, in this case, you're not actually buying the object itself, you're buying the certificate of art. So you've paid for the concept rather than the actual thing. So according to the artist's instructions, you can replace this banana as many times as you want, and it'll still be considered a Cattilan. You also might be thinking, is this guy really taking the mick? Well, it seems only fitting that I decided to title the piece Comedian. Now, you can look into deeper conceptual meanings about the work. Its reference to consumerism and some of the ridiculous things that rich people will buy as a show of status. However, I feel like a more enlightening takeaway message from the work is the fact that art can be anything. There's endless techniques, endless methods, endless processes, and you get to decide what art is. One of the great wonders about art is its ability to start a conversation. So whether you love or loathe a piece, claim that your 5-year-old niece could make it, it opens a discussion to start a deeper debate. And in the end, that's how we come to understand the world around us. So when's the last time you stopped? When's the last time you took some time to be creative? I hope that by sharing my own story, I've been able to illustrate some of the value of the arts and the importance to support our children's creative self-expression. In a world which is driven by technology and just feels full of conflict, it's now more important than ever that we arm ourselves with the ability to use the arts as a safe haven. This means stop underfunding and undermining the arts in schools and education. Support your children in pursuing creative careers. And lastly, give yourself the permission to make art too. Thank you.